Hey everyone, this is an episode of Improve Your Gameplay featuring High Ground Defense. High ground defense is something that many people seem to know instinctively, and because of that it's often overlooked as something to improve or learn. A lot of people focus their practice in last hitting and fighting farm, but it's undeniable that you can often come back from a hard laning phase, but coming back from lanes of barracks down it's realistically harder. So what can you do to improve your high ground defense skills? Throughout this guide we'll be looking into 3 replays with successful high ground defenses and talk a little about the roles of each hero of the defending team into winning those fights. In this replay, Radiant is being pushed against an Aegis Phantom Assassin with the help of Axis and Spirit Breaker initiation. The first thing you need to know when defending against a push with all your barracks still up is 5 people in the base is bad. Ideally, you always want someone pushing at least one lane while the other team commits to their push. First, because your team will be strangled with farm, it's very costly to stay in the base without doing nothing. Second, because if you have a farmed enough core hero, your push can be a threat to the enemy base, since your allies can distract the enemy push. That can make an enemy TP to stop you, and then you can TP back and suddenly you have a 5 vs 4 against their team, and if you win the fight you already have a pushed lane to go to. In this game, the Sand King initiation is probably the most important thing. Without Epicenter's damage, it would be probably impossible for them to win the team fight against an Aegis BKB Phantom Assassin. Usually, you would like him standing really far back in the fight and abuse an overextension of the enemy to blink Epicenter. His positioning is not on par with his role in this fight, and because of that PA blinks on him. His play was really cocky, because PA had an Abyssal and the enemy team a Gem. But since PA was far from her team, and he was fast enough going this, he actually manages to bait the enemy team to the fight. Let's pay attention into the enemy team. Every hero there can interrupt his Epicenter, but only PA and X have BKBs. Take a good look in SK's decision making. As soon as he knows that Spirit Breaker didn't charge him, and X blinked BKBs, he starts ulting. In reality, X was baiting SK ult. He saved his call to stop it, but fails in doing so. From Silencer's point of view, he knew that even though his ult wouldn't stop the charge, he had to ult before to make sure Spirit Breaker wouldn't use his ult in Sand King during his channeling. The ult also stopped Lion and Sniper from interrupting the spell. That buys enough time for Lina to respawn and chill PA's first life. Even though the enemy team still have 2 people alive and a Phantom Assassin Aegis, take a look on how far Radiant kited them into the base. Invoker didn't have time to pop his Side of Ice, but the Meteor and Necronomicons helped enough to secure the kills. Morphling did his job as well. He pushed the lanes before the fight and dealt damage pretty decently. The TLDR for this first replay is: know your role into the team fight. If positioning is key for landing your ultimates, stay far back. If you're a core hero, try your best to push a lane before the fight starts, and think a little bit about which heroes are the biggest threat to the fight and play accordingly. In this game, we have Radiant pushing against Dire, and this time the defending team has 2 dead heroes. The difference in their positioning is pretty clear compared to the last game. Everyone is staying far back. Visage is even behind their tier 4s. They get lucky in this fight because CK doesn't have his ult and their push is pretty slow, but even if it was faster and they would lose a lane of barracks, not defending is the best approach, especially because their core TA is dead. If they end up dying when their allies respawn, they would be in the same situation, fighting outnumbered. the enemy team ends up overextending and not taking barracks. Regardless, the Dire team played this perfectly. By being patient and knowing that an outnumbered fight will do them no good, they end up defending their base, abusing their enemy's mistakes, getting kills, and since Brew didn't have buyback, they get a lane of barracks as well. Even though Radiant screw up in the push, look how they are playing far back. They acknowledge their mistake and wait for the Brewmaster respawn, giving up the barracks instead of fighting a 5 vs 4. The situation now changes. The Dire, after getting the barracks, get Roshan as well and go for a bottom lane push. The fight is very complicated, because even though Earth Spirit and Nature's Prophets got sight of Vices, the enemy team have Abaddon, potentially nullifying their effectiveness. The best move here is to kite Abaddon with Brew's Tornado and take the fight from there. See how they respect X's initiation by staying behind the barracks and Nature's Prophet even far behind. It gets pretty clear after the stun and sight that Brew needs to initiate, and that's exactly what he does. Nature's Prophet gets far behind to be able to stop X's call. The first life ends almost as the tornado ends, completely nullifying Abaddon's presence in the beginning of the fight. Funny enough, Rubik DCs during the fight, but the gameplay from Radiant was so solid that they won the fight regardless. From Rubik's point of view, the best stuff he could steal were Abaddon's shield and Berserker's Call. And as soon as Brew initiates, he walks into the fight to use it. CK is able to nullify TA completely, even though she used cheese during the fight. The TLDR for this replay is: be patient. Fighting outnumbered is not worth a lane of barracks in the late game, especially when your core is dead. Just try to buy time as much as you can. Have a plan, and at least try to communicate it with your team. Things could have gone really worse to the Dire team if Brew had Tornado, another hero. We have Dire pushing against Radiant. Tiny is 35 this game, and this is a good showing on why you shouldn't give up on games. The enemy team is more likely to make mistakes the stronger they are, especially in pubs. Tiny comes rushing in when he could have easily taken Rex, because Brewmaster didn't have his ult and Night Stalker was dead for 30 seconds. Not only that, but the enemy team also had Silencer that could easily interrupt Brew if he would go in later. Since the enemy team starts the fight awkwardly, Silencer is forced to pop his ult. Pay attention to Brewmaster. Even though they are getting destroyed and he is not silenced anymore, he keeps his distance, heals in the base, and that gives time for his ult to be ready and Night Stalker to respawn. Slark is forced to buy back, but what happens right after is a smart TP from Brew in front of the base, right as Dire is retreating, since they clearly overstayed their welcome. Brew is able to blink clap 3 heroes, ulting right after, and they take down the raid boss and 3 other casualties. Even though Slark died twice, they defend the base playing smart, safe and calculated Dota. The TLDR for this replay is: make use of enemies' mistakes, and if you have an ultimate of utmost importance like Black Hole or Brew Split on cooldown, hold to it. Also, communicate with your team what you're doing, so they can try to play around it and hold the enemy until you can use it. If Brew had died before popping his split, they would have definitely lost the fight. and then Night Stalker would head respawn and watch the base get destroyed.